What's the deal, y'all? It's Rich Trapper tapping in, TNN Trap News Network. This is your weekly wrap-up, and I got some news you could use. We're gonna take y'all to Utah, man. It's looking real ugly for a Utah woman. Apparently, she decided that it was a good idea to write a book about grief. Now, you might be wondering, why is a book about grief and learning how to deal with the death of a loved one? Why is that a bad idea? Well, you probably want to write a book about grief if you're the one that unalived your husband.
My husband passed away unexpectedly last year, so it's March 4th was a 1-year anniversary for us, and he was 39. It completely took us all by shock.
Corey Richins promoting her children's book, Are You With Me, when it came out just weeks ago. Dedicated to my amazing husband and wonderful father, and written, says the blurb, to create peace and comfort for children who have lost a loved one. Tonight, Richins is behind bars, accused of murdering her husband by serving him a drink, a Moscow Mule, laced with fentanyl.
Yeah, man, that's true. A Utah woman decided to write a book about grief after she was found guilty. Before being found guilty of unaliving her husband, only to be later found guilty of unaliving her husband. Jeff, is that what we would call irony? Yeah, for sure. We're gonna call that irony. Let's keep it pushing, man. Let's go to the next story. Tell us what else we got, Jeff. We taking it to the coast, man. Tory Lanez has been denied. Tory Lanez has been denied. Tory Lanez has been denied his retrial. Basically, from top to bottom, A to Z, he went in there, he thought he had a friend, and the judge said negative.
LA judge rules no new trial for jailed rapper Tory Lanez. Lanez convicted of shooting hip-hop star Megan Thee Stallion in the feet 3 years ago in the Hollywood Hills. The judge today said there was no error, prosecutor misconduct, or newly discovered evidence in this case. The Canadian rap star, whose real name is Daystar Peterson, faces up to 22 years and 8 months in prison when sentenced on June 13th. The district attorney's office says it is pleased with today's ruling.
That being said, Tory Lanez is going to be sentenced. He's looking up to a minimum of 9 years, a maximum of 22 years in the California State Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, even though they don't really be rehabilitating nobody. But I digress. That's beside the point. Tory Lanez is looking to be sentenced in June, and yeah, man, it's looking like game over. Now, can he still get an appeal? Definitely. Will he do a solid 9 years? Not a solid 9 years, because by the time he'll be sentenced, he'll have about 5 months in. With good time, that 5 months will turn into 10, 2 for 1 days, and then he'll get 80%. So after 9 years, if he's given the minimum, he's looking at maybe 7, 6.5 with good behavior, might get a couple good programs, get a good 6. We don't know, but we ain't saying that he gonna do that type of time, but he gonna for sure do some type of time. It's kind of a crazy little flu-flam, because on one hand, you got, I believe, no evidence or no gunshot residue on his hands, but he was found guilty of assault. But let's keep in mind too, in the state of California, even if you're not necessarily pointing a firearm at somebody, if you're pointing a firearm in the general direction of somebody, yes, that will be considered assault. If you shoot somebody, that will be an aggravated assault. So Tory Lanez is being charged with assault, and yes, he will face the mandatory minimum of at least 9 years. Ugh, the ugliest of work. Jeff, let's keep it rolling. Next story. Let's take it all the way to the top, man. Hov did. Well, Hov is saying that he didn't. But Hov's son, potential son, maybe not son, is saying that Hov did, because it's looking like this is gonna go to a grand jury of a DNA test of epic Maury level proportions. Jay-Z is being claimed to be the father of a young man who's saying that, hey man, I'm 30 years in this game, he ain't never did this for me, he ain't never did that for me, and yeah, that man's the pappy. So I wanna know here in the comments, make sure y'all dropping something below. Let me know what y'all think. Do you think that Jay-Z fathered that child? Because if you're looking over there, I'm gonna say they kind of like look the same. You feel me? Like let's take a second, pause it, look at it. It's we ain't saying that he not the dad, but if we being like somebody old grandma or old grandpa, I'm just saying we gonna call Maury and keep y'all, posted on the DNA results. Hopefully we don't see a Jay-Z smashing out the studio with the camera follow behind him, something like that. I don't know, man. But Jeff, let's keep it rolling. Next story. Let's take y'all to Tallahassee, Florida, where the mayonnaise media is the mayonnaises. Florida is going through some, as Florida is always going through some shit. I don't know what white people be thinking about, but they decided that it was a good idea to take George Floyd and Black Lives Matters out of textbooks in Tallahassee, Florida.
613, any parents with kids in school, I know you're following this one closely. Students throughout Florida will be getting new social studies textbooks, but they will be void of some recent social issues.
It's part of an adoption process that happens routinely every few years. This year, though, brings more controversy because of laws passed in the state regulating what can be taught in the classrooms, like the so-called Stop Woke Act.
Education reporter Stephanie Susskind takes a look at what was removed.
In 2020, Black Lives Matter and social injustice rallies popped up all over town and all over the country. But a lesson on them was removed from a social studies textbook for Florida students.
I don't understand why mayonnaise people keep considering the idea of erasing things as if it's gonna make it seem as if they didn't happen. And then like George Floyd, Jeff, when was George Floyd? Like 2 years ago? 3 years ago at the absolute most? Like, how are we gonna act like we didn't see something that we just seen that's still actual current present day news stories where police officers are still getting sentences and we still getting appeals getting rejected? Like, this is all still current media. So mayonnaise media is going to an extreme level where they wanna erase history before it's actual history while it's still present day current events. Because Black Lives Matter is still a thing right now. Mayonnaise media, man, the whites is gonna white. If we know one thing, we know the whites are going to white. We gonna pray for Florida. We gonna pray for Florida. Jeff, let's keep it rolling. Next story. Let's take you to the Lovers and Friends tour. It's looking like it wasn't too many lovers. It's looking like it wasn't too many friends because allegedly, maybe not when saying nothing, because here at TNN Trap News Network, we don't associate with no type of telling, ratting, snitching, talking about somebody, pillow talking, or doing anything that might lose anybody's endorsements or anything like that. But it's being said that it maybe not, possibly, maybe, I don't know, could have been an issue between Chris Brown and Usher at the Lovers and Friends tour where you see a video, got the video right there, of Chris Brown allegedly, saying some things to some people, and his voice was loud, but who knows? The radio could have been on, or maybe it's a Lovers and Friends tour, so somebody could have been performing. Shout out T.I., he was there. T.I. was probably performing it. Chris Brown is trying to talk over the music, because we're not going to jump here out the window and say that two black men who are doing great or are legends and we want to see a versus between them. We never going to insinuate that maybe they got into a squabbly wobbly and Usher got head, shoulders, knees and toes put on them by Chris Brown's crew, who really has been historically known to put head, shoulders, knees and toes on the opposition. But if you fast forward, you'll see Chris Brown right here, clearly on stage, and he was enjoying himself. Looked like he put on a great show. As sources say, we're not gonna say who, we're not gonna say where, why, how. We just gonna say maybe a little birdie told us that Chris Brown and Tiana Taylor might have had a little back and forth at the, you see right there, Tiana Taylor. He might have had a little back and forth at Chris Brown's skating party before him and Usher had an issue. If you remember, Chris Brown was supposed to perform at the American Music Awards, I believe. He was supposed to do a Michael Jackson tribute, and Tiana Taylor backed out at the last minute, and they're saying that maybe not, Tiana Taylor backing out at the last minute to do a movie was the reason why Chris Brown's tribute to Michael Jackson got cut short, and now here they are at the Lovers and Friends tour. I'm lying, not the Lovers and Friends tour, Chris Brown's birthday at the skating rink, and they going back and forth over what seems like a lot of bullshit. I don't know, man, but we gonna hope that Chris Brown and Usher maybe not didn't get into nothing, because we want to see Chris Brown and Usher continue to work together. The Lovers and Friends tour, make sure you go get that. We gonna go ahead and wrap this up though, Jeff. It's getting a little love and hip hop-ish. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. And with that being said, man, I'm Rich Trapper signing out. TNN Trap News Network. This has been your weekly wrap up. I got some news you can use, and we up out of here. Go.